we are dealing with an age-long problem as the insurance industry. One of the most common talked about words is penetration. The numbers have not been very exciting to talk about, and I know none of us is proud of the numbers. The penetration, the uptake of below 5% of adult Ugandans. Yes, our premiums have reached 2 trillion, but on its own, it sounds a great figure. But when you do some comparison, maybe not. Our claims have hit almost 1 trillion, the money that we pay to the public. On its own, again, it sounds a great figure, but when you do some comparison, maybe not. So it's really exciting this morning that we are celebrating, I want to call it a marriage without specifying who the husband is and who the wife is. I want to call it a union. The two parties will know, but in this case, we are in the era of equality. So both partners are equal. And I want to congratulate Britam upon choosing a responsible partner in the name of Airtel Money. In marriage, what counts? Before the marriage has taken place, I know you've done a lot of due diligence. So I'm speaking about marriage because I have a lot of experience in that space. John, and I have more years than you, I know. And you also know that. You start with due diligence. I'm sure before Britam would point to Airtel, you did a lot of due diligence beyond what we read and what we know. And Airtel Money wouldn't have accepted Britam if Britam was not a worthy partner. Now that you're in marriage, and I think Ibra mentioned, Japheth also mentioned, what is going to keep this marriage as some important pillars? Number one is transparency. And now from a regulatory point of view, we expect the maximum level of transparency. We expect the maximum level of disclosure so that where we stand, the policyholder or those people who depend on your marriage are fully protected. So transparency of the highest order. Trust. You have to sustain the trust amongst the people who depend on you, but also between yourselves. In marriage, once trust is shaky, then you are heading for disaster. We've seen partnerships which have been destroyed because of suspicion between the partners. Please don't allow this to happen, because the moment it happens, the union will be short-lived. And how are you going to sustain the trust? Is to commit and do what you have agreed on now. These days they say ground ibirala muko. You may have not foreseen certain things. When you swing into action, many other things may manifest, but you have to sit down and agree, because there are many people who are going to depend on this. Today we are launching, we are encouraging people to trust the union. We must make sure that they trust us and we do not leave anyone exposed. Communication is also key in marriage, in your union. Consistent communication. We have an experience in this market, or experiences, which I will not go into, experiences of similar nature, which at some point have actually made us to think that maybe we shouldn't have gone there. So I'm glad that you have knowledge of those experiences. You've taken stock of lessons and you're going to avoid the same. I have a written speech, but I thought those highlights are very critical because they will determine whether we come here a year from now to celebrate the milestones, or you will silently disappear. The latter shouldn't happen. The former is the desire of all of us, that we come here a year later and talk about not just numbers, not just the premiums, but the consumer outcomes. How exciting will it be for us to assemble here a year later, or maybe even in a bigger venue, because we shall have onboarded very many customers, and commit the session to only testimonies. Because as far as we are concerned, and I like Alan's remarks, we are not just concerned about providing protection for the sake of it, but protection that impacts on livelihoods. How exciting will it be to get testimonies from those this partnership is impacting a year or so later? So the theme is about protection, closing the protection gap. And when I was reflecting on the protection gap, I was looking at the people who have value, but that value, when just threatened by even the slightest event, is no more. And yet, if there was some form of protection, that value would have been sustained. So there is a gap. The most recent FinScope survey, that is FinScope survey 4, put the number at about 5.2% of average Ugandans having at least one insurance policy. When I was checking on the numbers from our colleagues, I think over 30, I was checking Bank of Uganda website, and I saw about 35.6 million mobile money subscribers. Now, if we are talking about 5% or thereabout, and these people are bringing on board the 35.6, I don't know out of this how much is Airtel, but I imagine it's a significant number. Then if we can even tap into 50% of what they have, the narrative will change completely. So in this marriage, Airtel is bringing the numbers. It is bringing the trust that we've built over time. For Airtel, I want to tell you that I only have one. I subscribed only one because I've not had a chance to that was my first, and it has remained. So you have the trust. I'm sure if we did a roll call here, each one of us could be having a line of Airtel. So you have the numbers, but you also have the trust. Alan and team are bringing the expertise. You do not have the expertise in protection. You can mobilize savings. You can facilitate transfers here and there, but they are bringing something that you do not have. And I think that is what we would call mutually beneficial marriage. Not just marrying for the sake, but you're asking, what are you bringing to the table? I have the numbers, I have the savers, but can you put something on top so that we are able to offer more value to the public? So today's launch is providing a platform where we are going to see lasting protection, an opportunity for creating meaningful resilience. Because resilience is an English word, but when you think about it, only very few Ugandans can be resilient. Because even the most powerful, the mighty, if I give an example of Makerere University building, all of you read about it. Makerere University is a mighty institution. But did you see them calling upon people to sponsor, support? How can an institution of that nature also start requesting people to come through, support here? Meaning that none of us is too big to fail. Now, if none of us, even the big shots here, are not too big to fail, how about our colleagues in the markets? How about our colleagues in the transport sector? How about the farmers? It means that we can continue with these debates in these rooms, air-conditioned, but if we don't think about meaningful protection, all these will remain rhetoric. And for me, I don't want to be part of such discussions that do not impact. And the challenge that I'm putting to Britam, I want us to be invited 1 year after today to look at the outcomes, to look at what this partnership means when you gather all these ladies and gentlemen in this room. So like I mentioned, financial resilience is built on 3 important pillars. One is access, which Airtel Money is trying to solve. Access. The products must be available where people are, not where providers expect them to be. Because we have done that time and time again. We have opened our shops for people to buy insurance, but they're not coming. So it makes sense that we go to where they are. The second pillar is affordability. I know in the products which you are coming up with to offer through this partnership, you have taken note of affordability. Insurance is such that you must have money. It's not wishful. You must have money to buy. So if Ugandans cannot afford, then we are failing at inception. I'm sure through your surveys, you have considered affordability. And the katono concept, I completely agree. Because majority of Ugandans are katono in nature. We earn so little. Insurance is not a priority because we have branded it as expensive. But when we change a mindset around katono, that is really exciting because then a boda cyclist will afford. A farmer will afford. A market vendor will afford. Even a hawker. These hawkers have money. They make money on a daily. This one is selling apples on the roadside. They make money on a daily, but now insurance to them is a foreign concept. But when we localize it, we make the prices in tandem with the earning patterns, then it makes real sense for them, and we are likely going to see a lot of changes. So affordability becomes another important concept. The other one is trust. That has no substitute at all, and it's not even debatable. When I'm sending my money, or when I load money on an Airtel line, or the other lines, I am confident that it's going to remain. If you load 1 million and you find 999, just 1 shilling loss, even if it does not mean much in real terms, chances are high that you will think twice. Similarly, if I buy a policy with a concrete promise from my young sister Nkwanzi that when this happens, I will react like this, and it truly happens, but you start stories around, then chances are high that I will tell 1 million others that these people are not serious. So trust is fundamental. And I think the area we are going into is a bit complex. In Luganda, I think there is a saying that above baine ntondo. People with little money are more serious about their money. It's ntondo because of what they go through to make this money. So we have to be very prepared. The challenge before Britam is that it's a big brand and you don't want anything like that to tarnish your brand. So you must be extremely prepared to ensure that you respond to the expectations of these Ugandans who are struggling to survive. As the Insurance Regulatory Authority of Uganda, I think you are making it easier for us. Because as you are aware, one of our mandates is market development. That's why we have joined hands with the Uganda Insurers Association in the 10-year market development plan, because we have a strong stake in that. The argument was that you cannot regulate what doesn't exist. So it makes sense that you participate in the development field so that you can also regulate. And for that matter, our regulation is mindful of its impact on the development mandate. And that's why I am here this morning to commit that we are willing and ready to work with such initiatives. Come through where you need support. In terms of regulations, if you have highlighted areas which impact or hinder such initiatives, please let's engage. Ultimately, our destination is the same. Can we have Ugandans meaningfully protected? Can we play meaningfully in the 10x growth agenda? We can only do that if we protect the gains that have been created.